Minister, thank you so much for meeting with us today. I'm Rachel from Pregnant Then Screwed, and I'm delighted to introduce you to 3 of our members at Pregnant Then Screwed who are parents and juggling the reality of working and raising a family at the same time in a system that we often hear stacks the odds against them. So they have got some questions for you. So I'm really pleased to introduce, first of all, Sophie and, of course, Milo. And I'll hand over to Sophie for her question.
Hello. So lots of businesses have got enhanced maternity leave policies, which is fantastic. I currently benefit from full pay for a year being on maternity leave. However, lots of businesses do not have fantastic shared parental leave policies, meaning that non-birth parents, predominantly dads, just aren't able to take that time off when their children are little. What plans have the government got to try and level that playing field between enhanced maternity policies and enhanced shared parental leave policies within business?
A great question, and so nice to meet you, and lovely Milo, so thank you for that. This is a really, really important agenda to me and the government. Really recognise that support that doesn't exist for lots of parents and for dads in particular, and it's great that you've got that enhanced policy and the employers that do go above and beyond. We absolutely encourage that and want to see that more. But where we can do more in terms of legislation and the policies that are available in terms of statutory, that's what we're looking at the moment. So one part of my brief is focused on employment rights. So we've done the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and just this year we've seen the impacts of that in the recent introductions, so changing the entitlements for dads. So it's day one, kind of parental leave and unpaid parental leave, which will make a difference, and have been really welcomed by lots of parents across the country. But to consider the system as a whole and go even further, we're looking at all forms of parental support and pay as part of a wider review. And we've heard from lots of parents, similar to your example, of some employers that have gone above and beyond to provide that support, and that's made such a difference when you're looking after your newborn and your young ones. And those who haven't had that experience and have had to make that decision between spending such important time with their baby or going back to work and being able to pay the bills, and that's really difficult for people. So I've heard that a lot as part of the review, and we're working at pace this year to deliver the reforms and sort of the reviews outcomes early next year, hopefully. Because we know just how important this agenda is for parents.
So my question specifically around the shared parental leave policies, do you know how many people take advantage of shared parental leave versus maternity?
Yeah, so I've had real mixed experiences of shared parental leave from people. Lots of people who can afford to do it and take that option, but those who can't. As well as sort of the entitlements which we've changed in April this year for dads having to take shared parental leave first and then paternity leave, so we've changed that, recognising that sort of problem in the system. But that's why we have to look at it as a whole, like how do different leaves interact with one another, what are the experiences of people, and what are the inequalities within that and people's experience. So that's why we're looking at every single part of review, support and pay, because it's really important.
Yeah, I totally agree, thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel, would you like to ask your question about flexible working?
Thank you, Kate, for meeting with us. My question really stems from me, who works in organisation development and equity, and I've seen the gap between both policy and lived experience. So when we're looking at flexible working, I can see that it can exist formally, but employees still feel judged or overlooked for progression, or unable to fully use it without consequences or barriers. So my question really stems from, what can the government do to help create the culture where flexible working becomes the norm rather than just this standalone policy?
That's a great question, thank you. And when you look at how the world of work has changed completely over the past couple of years, and people's expectations of working and ways of working too, it's only right that we look at that, how we can support people, particularly when it comes to flexible working. And we want to make sure that we can make workplaces fairer and more equal, and flexible working provides opportunities for lots of people, especially working families. So we're looking at legislating. So we've recently done a consultation asking people their experiences of flexible work all across the workplace and the country, which has been really valuable to hear people's experiences and views. And we want to change it from, exactly to your point, that blanket approach to flexible working, to really have quite a creative conversation with their employees about how they can make it work and what's feasible and what's possible to support them and, of course, their workplace. So we're changing the law going forwards, so it'll be from next year, looking at how we can make flexible working requests the norm, and for an employer to have that conversation and sit down with their employee if they might not be considering that request, and to really provide that reason as to why not. And when they can, doing their best to make that possible and make it in the interests of where they work and their employee as well. Because we think it's right, you know, flexible working can make such a difference for people managing their personal and work life. And to your point, it is exactly demonstrate that. So we want to kind of flip that around. So what we'll be introducing next year will be really important to make sure that you can sort of have that flexible working at the first point and really have that conversation with employer if it might not be possible, to understand why.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And Danielle has travelled all the way from Sheffield. 33 weeks pregnant, I'm in awe. I definitely would not have got on a train to travel that far when I was 33 weeks pregnant. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and do you have a question for the Minister?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, Kate, for meeting with us. So mine, it's interesting what you were just saying about flexible working, because mine is about maybe putting more of the onus and accountability on the employer. A lot of women are put at detriment in their career because they've had a baby, basically. And what we're currently told is we're protected. There's the Equality Act, we have rights, we're a protected characteristic. But I think the reality is a lot different. And actually, when you look to kind of fix the problem or resolve the problem internally, you end up either in a really lengthy grievance process, or you could go to ACAS or to tribunal, or go, you know, if you speak to solicitors, a lot of them suggest leaving and going for constructive dismissal instead. I'm wondering if the government could look at ways that actually is either preventative measures for employers, so that they're actually a bit more proactive in supporting women, but also ways in which they could be independently held to account if women are unfortunately subject to any sort of career detriment after pregnancy or maternity.
Thank you for that. Another excellent question. And before this job, I used to work in the trade union movement and heard lots of cases to your point of women, pregnant women and new mums experiences in the workplace, really horrible situations for lots of people. And, you know, you point to the current existing regulations that are in place and protections, but we do recognise that there are still problems that pregnant women and new mums are facing at work when it comes to discrimination and dismissal. So we do want to go further and provide those stronger protections, and thank you to Pregnant and Screwed for all your evidence and insights to help us do this really important piece of work. We want to get it right, and exactly to your point, to provide those greater protections. And then wider than that, in terms of deterrence, and I suppose what can we do before we get to that place for women at work? Our wider agenda about making work pay is making workplaces more equal, making work more secure and workplace fairer. And lots of the stuff that we're doing in the Employment Rights Act and beyond is all about that. So I really hope, you know, it's a once in a generation change to employment law and legislation, that all of that wider package does make that difference in workplaces across the country. And we can share that best practice in workplaces and of those employers that are championing that and doing really good work with their employees. But where that's not happening, how we can fix the system. So providing those stronger protections, but then, you know, when we look to our employment tribunal system, how we can alleviate the pressures and make sure that justice is much quicker for people as well. So there's lots of work going on, and it's a really important point, so thank you.
Yeah, it's great, for example, that now there's less of a wait, so you can, is it from October that you will be able to claim for 6 months after the Discriminatory Act? Which is a really, really welcome change. I think for many mothers, it's a huge burden for an individual to take on. It feels like sometimes mothers are the ones that have to kind of uphold the law. It's an individual responsibility. And actually, as a new mum, you are feeling financially vulnerable, probably emotionally vulnerable. You're worried about getting your career back on track anyway. And you probably have no time or energy to go into something like a lengthy tribunal process. So would definitely welcome something that was more preventative and that you know, whether it's workplaces becoming maternity champions or something like that, so people can only apply for roles where they know that as a working family they will be much better protected in that organisation. I think something like that, where people aren't going into jobs or into works where, you know, they're not doing their absolute bare minimum, let alone best practice, would really help.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's so much we can do, particularly with this changes in legislation, to making sure that employers know their responsibilities and roles, never mind employees understanding their rights at work. But as you say, you know, it shouldn't be always on the employee to enforce their rights at work. So there's so much we can do in working with yourselves to really promote all of this and make sure people do understand that. But exactly, you know, in the unfair dismissal, bringing that, you get rights at work, not have to wait for 2 years. You get it from 6 months from next year, and that will be really significant for lots of people in understand their rights from that early stage. But there'll always be so much more we can do to make that people aware of their rights at work, but fix the system that might not be working for people, and that's what we're really committed to doing, and working with you guys is really key for that.
What's really interesting to me is about our 3 questions. Really, it's set in the stage of culture change. It is other countries, you know, if you look at Finland, Sweden, Denmark, other countries are way ahead of us when it comes into how you protect and look after the family. So, you know, I know this is I guess we've got a long way to go. But it's the culture itself that needs to change to how, you know, we protect families, working mums and dads in the workplace.
Completely agree. You know, if we're in a world where this legislation came in 10 years ago, we had that Labour government, we probably would be able to see those impacts now. But that's why we have to work at pace and even harder to deliver on this, because as you say, when you look at other countries and the differences there, we have so much more to do, don't we, to make sure that we have that level playing here in the UK. But when you look at different protections as well, where we can learn that best practice, and where ultimately it's changed people's lives and really made that difference to them in their work and family life too.
Thank you so much. It's been great to hear from you. As you can hear from the people in the room, there's a massive strength of feeling on these issues. Our social media has been overwhelmed with responses from people who wanted to ask questions on similar but adjacent topics, things like the cost of childcare, the ongoing cost of living crisis, and just how difficult it is to survive for so many families at the moment. And we'll make sure your team get all of that feedback. But maybe to wrap up, if you could just tell us about what happens next. Parents are really hungry, desperate for change. So what can you tell us about what happens and what the government can commit to?
Of course. Well, thank you so much to all of you for such brilliant questions, and to everyone who submitted them. I do look forward to reading them and building it into all of my work that I do. You know, hearing your stories and, you know, what the current situation is for you, but what changes you want to see, what will make a difference to your lives, is what drives me every single day, and why I was really keen to meet and sit down with you. But you know, continues that fire in my belly to make sure that we can deliver as quickly as possible, because people, you know, are having those negative experiences now in the workplace. So with the wider parental leave and pay review, we are sort of working on that at pace this year, and we'll sort of have those announcements next year, which I know loads of people are waiting for and have fed into, and we are so grateful for the amount of evidence and, you know, just that strength of feeling. I really have seen that from people all across the country, and it's why this work is so necessary and so important. I know we need to deliver it well and right. So thank you to everybody who's shared that experience so far. We really want to continue working with you on all the different policies, whether it's the employment rights agenda, to the wider parental leave and pay review, because it's all about people's experiences in their lives, in their working lives, and of our country as well. So it's absolutely the forefront of our thinking, and just thank you.